Alright, we're almost at the end of this first section now. In the last video before our currency converter app, I'm just going to show you how to add images to your app, and I'm going to give you a bit of a challenge to figure out how to alter the image when the button, our new button here, is tapped. So first of all, we need a couple of images. So I've found a few lovely pictures of cats here. You're very welcome to find an image that you like and download it. I'm going to just click on that first cat there and then right click and save image as. Then I'll pop it in the desktop and I'm going to call that cat1. And because we're going to be changing our image, I'm going to call this cat2. There we go. So we've got cat1 and cat2 on the desktop now. If we go back into Android Studio, there are a number of different ways of adding images to an app, and we need to look at this in more detail later on to add images of various resolutions. So it's going to appear well on any screen resolution, which is something that we have to be very aware of when developing for Android. But for now, we'll do it in a very simple way. So we'll take cat1 and cat2, copy them to the clipboard, so Command-C on Mac or Control-C on Windows, and then we're going to put them in the Res, short for resolution, and drawable folder. So we want to then select that folder and Command-V or Control-V. And there we go, and then we get the option to copy the specified files, click OK, and there we go. So cat1 and cat2 have both been put there, and they're available for using in our app. So you should be able to figure out really how we add them. We just click image view here, and I'm going to drag it in. I'm aiming for the top right hand corner here. Now, because the default properties of our image view, as we've seen before, are wrap content, it's very, very thin because there's no content yet. But when we add our cat, that's going to spread out a lot. So I'm going to anticipate that just by using match parent. Go all the way down to SRC, which will be familiar to you if you've done any web development. So it stands for source, or it's short for source. And this is where we choose the image that we want to display. And I'm going to do it by clicking on the three dots there. And you can see we've got a load of images that are built into the app that we've created. We're looking for the drawable folder, and again a bunch of default ones, but at the very bottom will be cat1 and cat2. So let's just pick cat1 for now. There we go, and there's our little cat. Lovely. Fantastic. So the image view type has all the settings that you're used to, or that you've seen before at least, and there's one in particular that I want to show you now, and that's the scale type, and that can be very useful depending on how you want your image to display. So the default here is to display the whole image and use the original aspect ratio. So that means it's not stretched horizontally or vertically. That's usually probably what you're going to want, but you can play with these a little. So fit XY, for example, will stretch it out to the edges of the image. You can fit it to the start of the image, so the left and the top. You can put it in the center, etc., etc. You get the idea. So I'm going to put that back to the default, but that can be really useful if you want your image to display in a certain way. Okay, so now for the most difficult challenge that we've had so far. I want you to try and figure out how we can change this image to cat2 when we press this button. Now this will definitely involve a little bit of Googling, so it'll be good practice for you to figure out some commands that you've never seen before, but I'm going to give you just a rough overview. Feel free to pause the video before I do so if you're feeling confident. But we'll be in mainActivity.java, that's where we'll write our code, and we're going to want to find the image using findViewById, setting that to a variable, just like we did with the text field. And then we need some kind of command to set the image resource. So see if you can think what you might Google to figure out what that command is. If you don't manage it, don't worry. We'll of course go through it after we've paused the video, but do give it a shot because it'll be really good practice for you later on in the course. Okay, good luck. All right, I hope you managed to do that. I'm just going to get rid of the lines that we don't need here. So we don't want to have our toast this time. And notice when I delete those lines, these frameworks go grey because they're not being used. So if we don't want to use them, then we should probably get rid of them. So let's just scrap those. It's good practice not to import frameworks that you're not using. Okay, so now we need to create a variable which is going to be equal to our image view. So remember, we start with the type of the variable, which is going to be image view. There we go, and it's imported that widget for us. Lovely. And I'll call it cat image. And then we're going to find view by ID. Now I haven't actually set the ID yet, so let's go and do that. Switch back over to activity main, and then click on the image view, and then I'll double click there. And in fact, let's change that to cat image. There we go. Enter. So now we've got the ID. And as before, we use R for resources.id because we want to search the IDs, and then we want cat image. There we go. Now, do you remember why we've got this error? This is because this is going to return a view, but we want an image view. So we just need to convert that to an image view, which we do by putting image view in brackets there. So now we have our variable cat image, which will be equal to the image view that we've just found. So the one that has a cat image at the moment. And then we want the command to change the image of this image view. So what I hope you tried to do was something like go to Google and then search for Android how to change image view, let's spell it right, source. Something like that would be a decent search term. So you start with Android to tell Google what platform you're looking for, and then you try and be as technical and precise as possible in searching for what you're trying to do. So there we go. That first result looks good. Changing image view source. So we're on Stack Overflow. We've got a question. That looks very relevant to us. So let's scroll down. And it seems to me that the line that we want is this one here. So we take the image and then we use set image resource to set the image resource for that image view, which makes a lot of sense, I think. Okay, so let's go back and do that. So Android Studio, so we take cat image and we want to set the image resource. There we go. And now how do we refer to that resource? Well, let's have a look. We use R, and then we use drawable, which is the folder that we put our image into, so that makes sense. And then presumably we're going to type cat2 there, but hopefully it'll auto predict for us. So R dot drawable dot cat2. There it is. So that should do it. We've found the image using find view by ID, and then we've set the image resource to the second image, the second cat image. So let's take a look. Let's run the app and see if it does what we want. So in some ways this was quite cheeky to require you to go and actually do some Googling and try and find an answer to a question this early in the course, but hopefully you had a go at it and you saw that it was actually a lot easier than you thought. And definitely the ability to just go online and find the answer to a question that you're trying to solve or a problem is a really useful skill. At least I'd say 60-70% of the skills that you'll need as a developer. So if you managed to do that, well done. Let's just take a look. Now we've had our first crash there, which I wanted to leave in because it's something you may come across. Essentially the problem here is that our images are too big. So the images that I've downloaded were pretty big. So we can change that pretty easily. So on a Mac, you can resize images in preview. So I'm just going to double click on Cat2 there, and then Tools, Adjust Size. And this is currently 800 by 786. We don't need it that big. So I'm going to make it 200 by 197. There we go. And then save. Close that window. And then same with Cat1. So double click there. And then Tools, Adjust Size. And again, we'll make that 200 by 233. A much more manageable size. There we go. And save. And I'll close that window. And then I'm just going to remove Cat1 and Cat2 by selecting them both and pressing delete. And I'd go for the safe delete option. And then it's going to find that Cat1 is mentioned in the code, but that's fine because we're going to put them back. There we go. And then we just do the same process that we did before to add them in. So Command C for copy. Select the drawable folder, and then Command V or Control V if you're in Windows. There we go. So now let's run that again, and we should find this time that we don't get that nasty crash. So do be careful about your image sizes because they can cause crashes. So there we go. There's our cat, and with any luck, if we click New button, it changes to the new cat. Fabulous. Okay, obviously if I click it again, the method does get called, but it's already cat2, so it doesn't change back or anything like that. But that's what we were trying to do. I do hope you managed to do that challenge. And now we're going to move on to our mini app of this section, which is going to be our currency converter.